Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Market Close Report for Tuesday, the 31st of March. So quite a wild way to finish what has been officially the worst month for the Aussie share market in close to 4 years. The ASX 200, though, still managed to lift slightly, not by much, by around 20 points or 0.25% to 8,481. At the worst levels of the day, we were down around 0.6%. And at the best levels, believe it or not, the market was up by more than 1%. So quite an improvement, but also the market fading in late trade. So before we take a look at the month and some of the big movers, both good and bad, let's quickly touch on what has actually moved markets over the course of the day. Now, one of the things which seemed to hurt early in trade was once again US and Iran related news. So basically in the morning, there were conflicting messages both from President Trump and also Iran, something of course that we've grown accustomed to over the course of March as the conflict enters its fifth week. Now, Trump posting on Truth Social that the US is in serious discussions to end the war in Iran and that great progress has been made, while also threatening to blow up Iran's energy plants at the same time. Now, we also saw Iran pushing back on this, saying that there have been no talks at all since the war started. Now, that didn't help, but what did help about an hour and a half or two into the trading session were reports that President Trump is actually prepared to end the Iran war, even if the Strait of Hormuz remains largely closed. Now, that news seemed to be enough to push the US futures significantly higher. That flowed through to other markets around the world, including the Aussie share market as well. Now, as far as what we saw over the course of the month, now the ASX 200 fell by 7.8% in March. So as I pointed out, the worst month in close to 4 years. We've actually got to go back to June 2022 when the market was down by close to 9%. Now, the key driver, of course, was everything surrounding this war, which caught the market by surprise, in particular because of the impact it's had on surging oil and fuel prices. It also contributed, of course, to an earlier than expected rate hike in Australia here as well, just a couple of weeks ago. Now, as far as the big movers are concerned, energy by far the best over the month, lifting close to 18.5%. Utilities and consumer staples to defensive areas actually were higher as well. The rest of the market effectively in the red, led by the materials and also tech companies, which were down by in excess of 10%. So very much the winners list were dominated by oil and gas companies, LNG producers, fuel refiners like Viva Energy. These were some of the better performers. And on the losers side, many of the gold miners, which essentially dominated the losers list. But there'll be more on this by my colleague Laura, who'll be releasing a video in the next couple of days, basically wrapping up some of the best and worst, but also some of the top traded stocks as well. Let's take a look at today, though, because quite a bit also took place. We had three sectors in the red. Energy down 1.1%. The utilities and consumer staples also down. But again, there were some of the standouts over the month. The rest of the market actually managed to roar back over the course of the session. But again, all of these sectors did drop back over the month. So tech was up around 3% at least today. Real estate was up about 0.76%. And then we had some of the others doing reasonably well too. Now, as far as the winners today is concerned, Resolute Mining, 8.5% higher today. It did actually sign a strategic partnership in Guinea regarding the potential co-development of some gold projects over there, so it'll be expected to potentially work with the government there. Gold prices have also ticked a bit higher in Asian trade, up by around 1%, and there were some comments made overnight by the Fed Chair Jerome Powell suggesting long-term US inflation expectations are in check, at least for the time being. So that's all. Bond yields falling a little and gold prices were also higher. Again, a reminder that yes, Resolute was up today, still has fallen by excess of 6% this month. West African Resources, another standout today, lifting about 5%. Forecast record production for the year, but it also provided a 10-year production outlook for gold, saying that things are likely to peak as far as production is concerned as things stand in about 2030. But again, this is a stock that has struggled this month, along with most other gold miners, down in excess of 8% rather. The Koala company deserves a mention. It actually made its debut on the ASX today. This is the company that manufactures eco-friendly furniture, including sofa beds and others. It rose close to 12%. And Temple & Webster lifting around 6.8%, but did have quite a difficult month. We also had plenty in dividend payments, the likes of Wesfarmers. It was the big one. Bendigo and Adelaide Bank, Beach Energy, Suncorp, Karoon Energy and Guzman were some of the others. Now, there were plenty of losers on the market today, though. one of the worst, certainly not a major stock on the market, but ARN Media down about 19%, making headlines. Now, this coincided with news that Jackie O has started legal proceedings against the radio broadcaster, which owns KISS and also Gold Networks. She's seeking compensation in excess of $85 million. And last week, her former co-host Carl Sanderlands also launched legal action. Collins Food, also certainly not a huge company and not a big mover on the market, but a bit of news around by the company. It essentially wants to exit, or has agreed to exit, its Taco Bell brand in Australia. So it's going to transfer more than 20 stores to an affiliate in the US. Now, it's certainly not a key earner for the group. It makes around $560 million from its 290 odd KFC brands, about $23 million from Taco Bell. So not a big mover perhaps off the back of that. And Whitehaven Coal down in the order of 6%, but certainly one of the big winners of the month, lifting by close to 20 in March. And New Hope also down today, but it traded ex-dividend. So we've got to remember that. Also, roughly 20 exchange-traded funds went ex-div as well today. Now, we did have the minutes from the Reserve Bank released today. Essentially, these are the minutes where there was a line ball call a couple of weeks ago to raise interest rates for the second time this year. All members essentially agreeing that inflation's too high, but they did have differing views, considering it was a 5-4 vote to actually raise rates. But it really hasn't changed the market's view that the next time the RBA is likely to raise, to hike rather, is in May at the next meeting. So at the moment, the markets are pricing in about a 70% chance of that being the case. Now, looking forward from here tonight, we do have a couple of stocks in the US releasing earnings, including Nike. We've also got an update on job openings in the United States, and we have some economic growth figures both in Canada and the UK, and inflation stats also in Europe. Let's look at currencies briefly. The Aussie has softened against most, sitting at 68.4 against the US, also down against the Euro and Japanese yen. On that note, have a great evening, everyone, and I hope April's a little better for everyone.